Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the O2ers for our next episode, our second guest episode. We have the DaPurpleSharpie here. I said the DaPurple, I'm sorry. DaPurpleSharpie with the Sharpie. How are you?
I'm wondering why you said the DaPurpleSharpie three times.
It's because it's like a name, but it also has like I don't know, whatever.
With DaPurpleSharpie, people will say the Justin Wong. People say Justin Wong. It's okay. I'm not Justin Wong. If I was,
it could be like the thing, like the DaPurpleSharpie.
I just didn't feel like it was sold.
Right, you know what? This is gonna be an interesting.
I need to stop. I need to get a new freaking agent because they keep booking me for gigs like this, and I just honestly feel very disappointed.
You know, your agent said that you'd come on here, and all we had to do was give him a slice of leftover pizza. So
definitely need a new agent. Yeah. I'm actively looking. Go ahead and hire me once again. That's Sharpie at SharpiePLS.com, or you can go to playskullgirls.SharpiePLS.com right now to pick up Skullgirls, a fantastic game, 2D fighting game available currently on Steam. Get the Season 1 pass, which currently has Annie and Umbrella.
There we go. Play Skullgirls. I'm joined, of course, always by my main man, KRC Pinto. Hello, Pinto. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm chilling. It's a beautiful day today. Happy to be here in front of my computer monitor recording this podcast about fighting games.
Hell
Should I be locally recording, by the way?
No, don't worry about that. I got everything on my end. Just do it too.
Unless you want it as like a memento, in which case feel free.
Yeah,
I would like to forget this as soon as possible.
Okay, there we go. We're off to a fantastic start here. But yes, guys, just so you know, I mean, obviously, if you don't know DaPurpleSharpie, a champion of the Skullgirls community, done a lot of things. Commentated Evo this past Evo. Advocate of cross fighting games, content creator, TikTok, pretty much ambassador at this point. I mean, they got to give you the title, but done a ton of stuff for our community in the FGC, and honestly, we're very excited to have you on. First off, I want to say thank you for coming on the show.
No problem. I'm genuinely excited to be here. Like, even though I said I wasn't earlier, that was just all a scam. It was acting, something I'm very, very good at. And as a reminder, you can hire me once again, Sharpie at SharpiePLS.com if you're looking for an actor. Fantastic at acting. Amazing at it.
I really believe
I hate this podcast.
Yeah.
Look at that. There's a tonal shift.
That's acting.
Beautiful.
See that?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's an Oscar winner right there. There's a lot of things we're gonna get through obviously on this podcast, but the first thing I obviously want to talk to you is it's obviously a very recent for us is I want to talk about TikTok. I mean, TikTok has been things that have been very, very active in the FGC. A lot of people moving over to TikTok, and a lot of people, honestly, almost everyone has to really thank you for that. You've done a lot of stuff recently with Twitter Spaces, especially telling people like, hey, this is TikTok. We're the fighting game community. We should jump on here. We should be creating content. This is the next step. The future is here. Move over, boomers. We're moving into this spot. I just wanted to just get your original thoughts on what do you think of TikTok so far as how long you've been on it as a platform comparatively to the other ones that you make content on?
Yeah, that's totally fair. I actually started my Twitter account back in college, actually right before college, specifically like in high school, because it was the only way to apply for a certain scholarship. And I don't throw away money. So I was like, I need money. And money is a really good motivator to get you to make something that you wouldn't otherwise make, right? And I made my Twitter account back then. It grew significantly as I started to gain notoriety inside of the gaming world, first with Melee and then with League of Legends and then with Skullgirls, and ultimately when I started Twitch streaming, my account really started blowing up because I started talking about stream, I started talking about hosting events and doing all of that, and now I'm verified, mostly because of my connections and the fact that I run social media accounts for Future Club Devs, which is the team that is currently in the process of creating Skullgirls. So I got luckily verified at that point in time, but I've always been a really big advocate primarily of having a really large social media presence because I've seen firsthand what a social media presence can do. My very first example with that was actually when the very first time Xanadu was losing its venue, back when we were based in Baltimore, I actually tweeted out, hey, this is going to be the very last Xanadu event. I'm going to be streaming it. Here's the stream. And we got 300 viewers as opposed to before when we had like 20 or 25. We had 300 viewers, and that was like coast to coast continental United States. It was kind of crazy. It was a really big jump, and it wasn't like we got rated or anything. It was literally like we had 300 people just clicking that link and coming in straight from Twitter, which was really, really a big deal. Ultimately, when Xanadu reopened, I became the tournament organizer for that, and then I started talking about events on my Twitter, so it grew even more. And then I did Future Club Dev stuff. But TikTok was something I started pursuing in 2019 when I first spoke to one of my good friends, Black Yoshi, FGC, who actually currently has 100,000 followers on TikTok. And I started working with him, and I started realizing he was running into issues specifically growing on other platforms. So I would talk to him because he lived in my region. I saw a viral video he had. I was like, oh, we live in the same region. We play the same type of games. We started hanging out. We had the same circles of friends and everything. He's really cool people. It's like 5 years younger than me or so. So I like helping people grow, and I like being that like mentor person for newer creators inside of the scene that are trying to get started, especially on other platforms. And he helped me understand that TikTok has a very, very active community, and it was very, very easy to grow, especially since there's next to no competitive gaming presence for fighting games or like platformer games on that at all. And he was able to grow to originally 50,000 just by talking about Super Smash Brothers and his experiences with being queer inside of the community. There's a really large market for that because nobody on this application is talking about the community at all or going to events. And so when he made me realize that, I was like, well, I run Xanadu. I should probably get on there. And I started doing sketches originally. I started doing like just kind of like a web series almost exclusively through TikTok where I wrote an entire script and produced it. Got no views, by the way, got 0% of the views. Like I had to like heavy promote that through all of my streams in order to even get like 500 views on those videos. It was really sad. And then the day after I commentated Evo, I did a really funny shit post where someone was like, if you had 24 hours with me, you could, and I couldn't say no, what would you do? And I said, I'd talk to you about Evo Moment 24. And then I just started, you know, I just showed off the moment. Or Evo Moment 37, sorry, Evo Moment 37. And I showed off the moment. I was commentating with it. And it got 80,000 views. I'm sorry, 800,000 views in about 2 weeks. And it took over the FGC talk tag, the FGC TikTok tag, the fighting game tag. It's the 6 on that. It's on the front page. And I grew from 10,000 followers to I'm now currently at 29,000. I'm about 100 followers away from 30,000 right now. But I can't stream, so it kind of sucks. But there's a very, very large demographic of people who want to participate in especially some of these new fighting games like Guilty Gear Strive, Melty Blood. There are a lot of Nickelodeon All-Stars players on there. There are even more people that are really, really excited about Project L possibly coming out. And they just have the only platform they use is TikTok. Just like the only platform a lot of people use now is Twitter. Like I know people that aren't anywhere else. They don't even have a Facebook account anymore. They just use Twitter. They just use Twitter and maybe Instagram occasionally when they're posting a picture of an event or something, but they don't use any other social media platforms. And that's how a large demographic of growing fighting game players are accessing our community. So it felt really important to me that I start letting people inside of our community know, hey, by the way, there's a large amount of people in here that are not being catered to, and we should be the people out here making content for them. We shouldn't be waiting for like IGN or Echo Fox or even like another like team like Nintendo or something like that to come in here and make content for them when we can have content creators inside of our area specifically making content and growing that way. There should not be people outside of the fighting game community catering to the community just because we don't know that they exist, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what my entire vibe towards TikTok has been, and that's kind of what I've been sharing people. I, like you said before, did a couple of Twitter spaces where I talked with a lot of my following and people that were interested. I even did a couple of QAs. I know tGrass, you were there. Luminos was there. Freddie Pow Pow came through. And yeah, Pento, you came through as well. That's right. We had quite a few people come through and kind of learn more about the platform. A couple of people were like, why don't you put it up on YouTube? Why don't you talk about this and this? And I was like, the reality is everything I discussed is already publicly accessible if you
Right.
look it up on YouTube.
Mhm.
I'm not telling y'all anything different. And the reality is if I told you all the tips and tricks that I used in order to like grow on TikTok, it's going to be obsolete in like 3-4 months anyway. And most of the people that would access it immediately wouldn't be inside the fighting game community. It would be people outside the community that would just be looking for tips and tricks to grow on TikTok. And then
Right.
they would use that to take over our community. So it's like, it's difficult to explain that I'm not like trying to be selfish, especially when I go out of my way to tell everybody that's following me, and in addition to people who may not be following me, that may just be coming to this Twitter space, like information about how to use TikTok specifically to get access inside of the fighting game community, how to specifically make content inside of the fighting game community, how to grow inside of the competitive gaming space. But it was one of those things I really had to stick by. It was just hard for me because I'm not used to being like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not putting out all of my tips and tricks. I'm not telling you that in order to be a super like, in order to like, you have to use this hashtag and this hashtag and this audio to blow up. I'm not doing all of that and then putting it inside a YouTube video only for it to be obsolete in like 2 months. And for the people that actually use it to not even be inside the fighting game community at all. That's pointless. That
Right.
goes against everything.
Yeah,
So Twitter was a really nice avenue for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like the easiest way I feel like you can put it into words is like you're just looking out for your own kind of thing, right? It's like you see people in your creator space that are doing things in the same community and you want them to thrive, or at least give them the opportunity to try the new platform, being like, hey, this is what's worked. This may not be what's working. You know, these are the bunch of different types of content that I've seen from our community on there. Here's what we're missing. Like, you're just saying, like, this is the plan. Here are the blueprints. Like, if you take it, that's great. If you don't, it's on you. You know, that's all where it comes from.
And a lot of people learn from it. Like, I think more people were inclined to believe me immediately after the Twitter space or before the final Twitter space, because I was only going to do one, and then people kept bothering me, and I ended up doing 2 more. I was only going to do 2, and then people kept bothering me, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do a third. You know, and I was like, this third one's the final one. I'm never doing it again. Y'all aren't getting me to do this ever again, right? But after I did the third one, right before I did the third one, I posted a video. And while I was doing the Twitter space, I hadn't told anybody about my TikTok or anything, but while I was doing it, it literally got 25,000 views within like the first hour of posting. And it wasn't because people were going to my TikTok and following me. It was literally like, that was just people on the platform engaging with my content. And that's what I was trying to show people. People were like, oh, can you give an example of like how we could reuse our old content for it? I was like, oh, I just posted a video. Immediately after the space, go ahead and check it. Someone checked it and they're like, oh shit, Sharpie, it's already at 12,000 views. I was like, yup, that's the audience. That's what I'm saying. There is an audience of people here, and it's not even mostly my followers. This is what happens when you get on the For You page and people are like, oh man, Skullgirls, I've heard of that game. Oh man, Evo, I remember that moment. Like, oh man, I grew up watching Tekken. This is so cool. You're a current Tekken player? How do I play this game? Like, there was a large audience of people just like that here, and people that have taken me up on it have seen great success, you know?
Yeah, there was a... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought it was interesting because I've just dabbled in TikTok and I like don't understand it at all, but I haven't like tried very hard. So I was there to definitely like listen to your advice and stuff. But I was also just kind of curious about Twitter Spaces because I don't think I had ever joined one before that, and that's in itself like an interesting little layout. Like from the spectator side, like be able to see everybody. I was like, oh, my friends are here. Like that was kind of neat, and like watching the speakers pop up like that. Have you used those a lot outside of these like 3 sessions?
I don't currently have Twitter installed on my phone.
Ooh.
Because it's toxic.
Last
year I went through a very negative experience that I would prefer not to talk about, but it was exclusively like through Twitter. And it put me in a very negative mind state. And so I uninstalled it from my phone. And I only recently installed it in order to host that space. So like whenever you see me making a tweet, I'm always in front of my computer because I don't have Twitter installed on my phone anymore. And whenever I do have Twitter installed on my phone, that's when I get in trouble because that's when I respond to negative stuff. And that's when I'm like reading my DMs consistently because everyone feels like they can access me immediately. And I've gotten into the habit of only being on social media when I actively have something important to say or something important to share. You know, like if I make a really big scale project that I've been working on for like years and years or months and months, then I will get on Twitter and promote it. If I'm going live on Twitter, or if I'm going live on Twitch and it's a really big stream or something like that, then I'll get on Twitter to promote it. But I'm trying to get out of the habit of just tweeting and just engaging on Twitter, especially when I don't really have anything important to say that I feel affects people. Because the issue with Twitter is that it's free. So people can get on there, make a free account, and say whatever they want and get traction based off how many more people agree or disagree with them. And it feels like the platform incentivizes people to disagree with them. So I don't really feel like sharing thoughts and ideas that I personally have unless I feel like it's important for my following to know those thoughts and ideas. Like one day I like had a really hard day at work and it was really rough for me and I was struggling to go on. And so like, I'm just sitting in my bed like thinking about how shitty my day is and I get on Twitter and I just think about how many people follow me and probably also had a really shitty day. And then something pops in my head and it like literally makes me feel like living my life again, and it makes me so happy. And so I tweet out, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think ram's feet taste like Jolly Ranchers or strawberry shortcake? Because, like, what do you think they taste like?
I personally haven't given it not an ounce of thought, but
Really?
no.
Think about it. Just
I mean,
really think about it. Like, do you think it's soft?
It's got to taste like
shortcake?
something, right? Has to have a taste. Everything has something, right?
It has to taste like watermelon Jolly Rancher. I personally feel like I feel like it's a very strong, like kind of like that little like you kind of just touch like okay. I'll stop because like but my point with it is whenever I did one of those Twitter Spaces, I had to reinstall Twitter on my phone in order to host it. So I feel like people didn't understand how big of a commitment I was making to it. Immediately after I reinstalled Twitter, I immediately regretted it. Like people started DMing me like I was on the platform. People were trying to hire me for jobs like I was on the platform. And I was like, I do not check this platform. Hit me up on via email or Discord. Or if you install TikTok, hit me up on there because I'm on TikTok all the time now. But I am not on this platform anymore. Like I don't like being on platforms that incentivize people being angry at you, Like, yeah. I get sometimes it's warranted. Like, sometimes people are out here like, yo, fuck Ram's feet. We suck Zato's toes. Like, go off, But, like, I wasn't even talking about Zato here. Like, why are you here? You know what I mean? Type stuff. So I don't. And when you get verified, it becomes significantly worse because it gets significantly further. Like, I made a tweet talking about how I didn't like Final Fantasy Tactics. And somebody somebody randomly quote retweeted me, and it was like an ESPN writer who wrote for basketball games, and that's why. And then they said, "This is why gamers will never be taken seriously." I was like, "Who the fuck are you? You don't even follow me. You have no mutuals. You know nobody in the gaming sphere. Who are you?"
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't.
I was like, this is why I don't like being on Twitter as a verified account sometimes. Because sometimes people will just be like, fuck verified accounts. And I'm like, dude, I randomly got verified. Like, I'm just a shit poster who happened to know enough famous people. That's all that was. Like, high key. And so I came to TikTok because it reminds me of Twitter back before Twitter became like horrible,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I feel like at least with TikTok, like, although there are like stitches and duets where you can like drag other people's videos into it, it's like mostly like people's sole opinions, and then like you have the comments, but like a lot of the time you like scroll through and you're like, whatever, close it out, like no big deal. But like with Twitter, it's like here are the comments, they are in your face.
Yeah.
Like here's all the negativity right there.
What I realized was that TikTok is just like Twitter back from 2012. That's really all it was. And Twitter was very good back in 2012. Like I could stay on Twitter for hours. And I would literally just go days and days only on Twitter. And I know a lot of people that still do that because that's the feeling they're looking for, where they're just like, I just want to find this subculture thing that I'm really about and just talk to other people really about it. That's what TikTok is right now. Sometimes you do get to the really weird parts of TikTok, just like you got to the really weird parts of Twitter back then because it's so unregulated. But if you can deal with occasionally seeing somebody like making a weird penile joke, then you're fine. Or the weird racist person that just happens to hate something, then you're fine. But it's like that was the same thing on Twitter. I'm just really used to that environment before like the brands and stuff get on a social media platform. I really excel in that environment where it's just like we're just talking shit. The biggest issue I have with TikTok is that I have to show my face. Like if I had another talent besides just like talking and besides like my skill inside of a game, I would just be posting that. Like if I was an artist, I would just be drawing. If I was an animator, I would just be showing my animations. Like I would be doing that stuff. If I was creating movie content that wasn't featuring me, I would never show my face on TikTok. I would 100% never show my face. But because it's a video platform, I have to. If I was making music, I would just be using the audio files in like a really cool little music video or something like that. Right. Or maybe a VTuber. But like the worst thing about TikTok for me is that I have to show my face. And I feel like one of the great things about Twitter was I could share my opinions without someone being like, well, you're a black woman, so shut the fuck up. Because on TikTok, they could do that very easily. They could just like be like, well, you're black, so shut the fuck up. You know, and it's like really annoying, but it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, that's got to be incredibly frustrating. And, you know, a lot of people, I'm sure, share that same opinion where they, I feel like a lot of people in just general, not even just TikTok, but a lot of content spaces, like they want to be able to create without showing their face because they don't want to deal with anything like that. Like no one should have to deal with this, things like that.
It's the worst, but there's only so far you can go. It's one of those things where it's like when I first came into the space, I didn't want to show my face on stream. And then the minute I showed my face on stream, it's like you can't really uncheck that box. You know, like your face is now out there on the internet and you can't delete anything from the internet. You can try really hard to scrub it, but it's going to be out there somewhere forever. Yeah. So I just kind of leaned into it. And sometimes it's helped me, sometimes it's hurt me, but it's like it is what it is. There are a lot of other creators that choose to not show their face or they do VTuber stuff, and I respect them a lot for it. There's just so far you can go by being a VTuber is the issue. Because at a certain point, people are questioning who you are as a person, and anybody can be a VTuber. So it's kind of like a little bit scary, you know? But it is what it is. So I'm happy with how it progressed. I just wish that TikTok thought and understood that I was over the age of 18 and that I should be allowed to stream on their platform.
How did they make that mistake? Yeah. Like, how did they botch that?
Because my skin is really a different palette color than probably most of the people that opt to use that platform. So what I've noticed is that people with lighter skin tones don't typically get confused for being younger because their skin ages a little bit differently. But my aspects of my skin allow it to be a little bit more youthish and a little bit more taut despite my age. So if I put on even one filter, I could look 10 years younger, whereas someone my same age could put on that same filter and may only look like 2 or 3 years younger. It would drastically make me look younger. So if I had that filter on and then it's going through AI and then even one person reports me, then the AI is like, oh yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that. It looks like this person doesn't have any wrinkles or anything like that. They don't have any laugh lines. So they're definitely under the age of 13.
Like, don't you have to put your birthday? Can't they like check your identity or
so
something?
Originally I did put in my birthday. I did do that, but I never verified it with ID because at the point in time, like TikTok was super about like, you know, it's owned by China and it's a Chinese company and I don't know what they're doing with the data. And I looked up the company that they actually like literally put all their stuff through. And it was a little bit shifty to me. So I didn't feel comfortable putting my actual ID on file with that company for them to verify who I was. Because it felt weird to me. I was like, I already confirmed my date. You have my email address. You can go ahead and literally just Google search me. You can look at these videos and see that I'm this person. I'm literally already verified on Twitter. So if someone just Google searched DaPurpleSharpie, saw my face and my image, they'd be like, oh yeah, she's obviously of age, right? But AI doesn't do that. So if they didn't have anything on file, then they're like, okay, yeah, that's obviously she's 13. So I was just banned until 2035.
I didn't even know it was that long.
Yeah, it would be until I actually turned 18, basically, was what they said.
Wow, is.
I can still post videos. I just can't stream.
Yeah, but that you were doing so much already with streaming. You know,
4 years old.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's just it's just so confusing. The whole thing.
I know why I was targeted for being underage, and because someone would have to report me for being underage, you know?
Right.
I'm typically targeted for trolling like that because of my ethnicity and because of my sex. So that's fine. Like, I'm not a quiet person. When I see certain injustices, like, I talk about them publicly. I do that. I still have fun, but like, I do talk about things that I feel affect people that I represent. And I do that very frequently. And when I do that, sometimes I bother people, and people that I bother may be looking to retaliate against me by attacking certain platforms that I may be very active on. And so not being able to live stream on the application is actively hindering my growth. Like, it's stopping me from promoting certain types of videos. So in that instance, it may count as a win towards them, right? The issue is that the application should be able to see that it's disproportionately attacking people that look like me, and be able to rectify that. And unfortunately, their current artificial intelligent support system has no way of fixing that. Even though I've already uploaded all the documentation, I've shown them my ID, I've even been approved for the creator fund, which means that they know I'm 18 years old at minimum.
Right.
Um, they, for whatever reason, the streaming service that they use and the content fund that they use are not seeing my birthday as the same. And that's just what it is.
That's
So it's
just,
like,
yeah.
it's really silly because the same company that's saying I'm underage also says I'm of age. So it's just two different departments that are not talking or working together. And usually one person could go ahead and fix it. But until I get to that one person, it won't be resolved. I mean, it will be resolved in like 13 years, but
You know what they say,
at
right?
that point,
Patience is a virtue, right?
it's just, I'm used to it. I'm used to like getting the short end of the stick very frequently on social media platforms, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't done full-time content creation, even though I've been very successful in content creation in general. Like, I had a video get 6 million views on YouTube last year. I have had quite a few opportunities to like make a considerable amount of income from Twitch. And I consider myself very prolific with sponsors so that I'm able to get sponsorship opportunities. Like, I'm currently sponsored by Logitech, Astro Gaming, Blue Yeti. And that's without a team or anything like that.
Right. That's all
So
you.
I know how to navigate this space, and it's really frustrating because it's like social media isn't the same as that. It's only a fraction of it, you know? It's
Mhm.
more of like promoting that than doing anything else. And all I really want to do is just be able to stream on the platform that I'm trying to move to that I'm trying to move all my content onto. And if I
Right.
can't stream on there, then I have to continue to rely on other content services like Twitch or YouTube or even Twitter to a lesser degree, which, to be very candid with you, if Twitter hadn't killed Periscope, I would still actively be streaming on Twitter. Like, I would have done that, especially with me being verified. But Twitter disabled Periscope, and I cannot stream on Twitter anymore.
I honestly
So,
forgot that was a thing. I forgot they
Completely
bought them a
forgot
while
about
ago.
Periscope.
Yeah, they bought
well, they also
Periscope.
killed Vine. They also
Yeah,
killed
I do
Vine.
know
Yeah.
that one. They did
RIP.
kill Vine.
So if they hadn't killed Vine and they hadn't killed Periscope, I would still be on Twitter. That's the crazy thing about all of this.
Come on, Twitter.
Twitter is the reason I'm not on Twitter anymore. So they verified my account, and I'm just like, man, this app is kind of boo-boo, dude.
You're like, I'm verified. Great. Play Skullgirls. Follow me on TikTok. Peace.
Bye.
I'm out of here.
See y'all when I gotta file my taxes, dude.
You know, you've done a lot of things in the scene just outside of content creation. Like you said, you've been a tournament organizer, a player, a host, commentator. You've pretty much hit like almost every, if not every avenue in the scene. Like, what do you think, is any one thing stand out to you the most that you think was like your favorite? If it didn't have to do with like money or interest or views or anything like that, just like, I have the most fun doing this.
I consider myself a Twitch streamer before anything else. I've been streaming on Twitch for 11 years. I was streaming before I even started competing in video games. And that was just because I originally started streaming because I wanted to get better at League of Legends, and it was before League of Legends had a replay system or anything. So the only way to figure out what I was doing wrong in a game was to watch the footage back.
Right.
And that was originally how I got really, really good at the game. because I started wanting to play against people, and so I started competing in League of Legends at 1v1 tournaments, and I even went to like my college league group and everything. Like competitive gaming was still very, very new at that point in time. But before that, I was competing in Melee, and I didn't have any way of capturing Melee or anything like that. So it was just like when I got to League, I knew how I had to improve. I was just like, I need footage of what I'm doing wrong in order to improve. I can't just have someone spectate my game. I need to see it myself, and I need to dissect it. And then I tried to become a League of Legends commentator, but they said I was too loud. They said that my energy was overpowering everyone.
Not hard in League, yeah.
All of the things that I do really, really well in fighting game commentary, I was chastised in the League of Legends community for doing. So that was always really funny to me.
Hey, good. We got you.
Yeah, we got you over here.
The whole reason I didn't join the fighting game community before I joined the Melee community was because my experience offline going to my very first fighting game local was very negative, and my experience with Melee was really positive. So I started competing in that, and that was really fun. But I've been streaming for literally so long that like whenever I do anything now, I immediately think about what I would be doing if I was streaming in this instance, right? Like even right now, I would be like, oh man, what can I say that would make chat laugh, dude? Like, stuff like that. I think about the next way, like the reason I'm so good with segues and conversations and I'm able to host and I'm able to like organize tournaments is because I always think about what the stream experience looks like. And I'm always thinking about what does it look like to someone at home? How do I capture this experience that I'm currently going through right now for someone at home? And that's like the primary thing that I always do whenever I try to go into any role. And I think that's helped me a lot. And it's why I'm so successful in a lot of these spaces, is because I always think about the person that's watching me doing this, that's not anywhere near this event. Are they feeling the exact same way I am? If not, I want them to be able to, because I'm having a lot of fun here. And I want this person to be able to come out to this event and understand that if they come here, they'll be having fun. They'll be enjoying something. They'll help grow the community. And so I just started thinking of ways to do that. The TO role I was in before I even started streaming. I ran my very first tournament when I was 19 years old. I ran a 135 person tournament inside of my home in college for my birthday.
At your home?
Yeah, it was like
it was crazy.
It was like a 2-story home though, but like that was back when like Melee was popping. Like we had people traveling from Pennsylvania.
House tournaments are so sick, actually.
Yeah. So it was my not my 21st birthday. This was my 19th. I have a really big name, or I had a really big name in Melee in my local scene. So it was like when I was throwing an event, I would just make a Facebook group and we would invite Southern Virginia and Northern Virginia and Pennsylvania and like even parts of like Virginia Beach and stuff to come. And I'd be like, if anyone needs to stay, just let me know and we'll give you all room. We have alcohol, we have this, that, so on and so forth. I'm underage, so I'm like, we have alcohol. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like,
man,
it's college. It's college.
I miss like the Melee Facebook group chat days. I was talking about that with one of my other friends who was TO with me. Like, dude, remember just jumping into the Facebook group and be like, yo,
you would do it, dude.
Yo, we're going to Timmy's house at 2 a.m. Everybody bring a CRT and a Wii. We're gonna play till like next 2 a.m. Like, we're just gonna keep going to sesh at this person's house.
People would be in my house until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Some people wouldn't leave until 11 a.m. the very next day because they will have like needed to pass out before they drove 4 hours to go home or something. I'm very used to like what it takes in order to get people excited about coming out to an event. I know every aspect of that because I've done it myself. And it's just like, you get to that point where you're like, okay, this is nice, but like, I'm tired of doing it.
I mean, I think that's super fair. As someone who's definitely TO'd offline events or even had sessions like that, you're like, I love this, but at the same time, man, I would just love a little me time for just a weekend.
It was a lot. It was a lot. So when I came into the fighting game community for Skullgirls, like it was really easy for me to understand what I had to do in order to like have a successful stream. You just have to capture the same energy of the game while you're streaming and talk to the people in chat. And like the community was always really open and awesome. Like unlike other games where I know if you stream Street Fighter right now, no one's coming into your chat. Your chat's going to be dead. But like Skullgirls was so infrequently streamed that people would fiend for it. You know, the
Right.
same way they fiend for Marvel. If someone's streaming Marvel, crackheads will come into your stream
Yo, games?
to watch
Games?
Marvel and to play Marvel with you.
Yeah.
Like, random fiend is an actual fiend, dude. Crack fiend is an actual fiend, dude. Like, these people don't just play Marvel, they like live and breathe it, you know?
Yeah.
I've only experienced that secondhand through Skullgirls, but it's one of those things where it's like, if someone came up at that point in time, because 20 people, like 10 years ago, that's enough to get you on the front page of Twitch, to be very candid with you. Like, that used to be a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you were at 75 or 200 viewers, you were in the top 1% of streamers. Like, that's what the landscape was 10 years ago. It's changed a lot, obviously, since now streaming is more accessible and everybody can do it from any computer, but it didn't used to be. It used to be a lot harder, and that was when I started streaming. So I only started streaming because I just wanted to get better, and then it became, oh man, it's a show, and now my favorite thing to do is honestly to stream. But I have to like give an honorable mention to hosting, because hosting is like streaming, but you don't have to be the producer, which is really nice.
Yeah, because I know you did Game Devs of Color very recently.
I did.
You're on the front page of Steam and everything, so you get to do all the cool, like, crack the jokes, like be in front, ask people the questions, and have all the interaction. But you also don't be like, oh my god, I'm dropping frames, the mic is peaky. Like, you don't have to deal with that. You just do you at the same, like, on your own.
It's so like, it's a load off my brain.
Yeah.
And for Game Devs of Color, I was actually still responsible for like helping the producers determine like what the content order was and helping them make storyboards and the stream layout and stuff. So it's like, my streaming experience has helped a lot with production in general, but it's also made it so that I really understand like what every single role of production is responsible for and how to excel the best way I can. That, I've realized, is very valuable information that not a lot of people currently have, especially to the level that I have it, which is godlike. I never knew that I would gain that information. If you told like 12-year-old Sharpie that she would be on the front page of Steam and on the front page of Twitch in like the same year, she would never believe you. She wouldn't even know what the fuck Twitch was, honestly. So it's funny. It's really funny. She'd know what Justin TV was, but not Twitch.
Sharpie, how do you go from Melee and League, like two, like, you know, pretty big game, straight to Skullgirls? How does that happen?
I got gifted the game. So
okay. That's like a
my
deep
whole thing
game.
was,
I'm wondering, like, what happened here?
No, I was on. So one of my friends from middle school, the reason I was on Justin TV so early in Twitch TV was because one of my friends from middle school went up to New York after he graduated from high school, and we were really good friends. Like, I was in orchestra. I've played violin for now 23 years, 25 years. So we were in orchestra, and if you obviously have had childhood friends before, so it's like we were that childhood friend. Like, I played soccer, I was in orchestra, I ran long distance and cross country. So I occupied a lot of circles inside of school, and like orchestra was my favorite. Orchestra, like the same way I act about video games now, I was about orchestra and soccer when I was growing up. And I just traded that for video. I wasn't good because there were some very good kids in there. Like, they had private tutors, and they've been practicing since they were like 3 years old. And I remember I told my teacher one day, I was like, I want to go to Juilliard and I want to be a music major. She's like, you'll never be good at this fucking thing. You're competing against kids that have been training since the minute they came out of the womb, Sheila. Like, you don't have the money for this. I was like, damn. But he went on to NYU, and that was where he met DaKillSage, who was playing Smash 4 at the time. And I became friends with all of them, like House of 3000. I was cool with when all I knew was Melee, just because I was like, oh, Super Smash Brothers, Brawl and Melee and Ultimate, that's cool. Like, I played Melee, and I know Bonk, and like I know all of them. And so Sage was my favorite player. Sage was literally my favorite player. Like, I've been following Sage. Like, I would look at Sage play, and I was like, this motherfucker is godlike. You know, even in Smash Brawl, I thought that. In a game where you could literally trip and fall, he was so good. He was so good at that fucking game. And then one day he tweeted on Facebook that he had just won, or he posted on Facebook that he had just won Evo. And I was like, for what game? And he's like, Skullgirls. And I was like, oh my God. And then the very next day on Twitter, I saw someone giving out free copies of Skullgirls. Turns out it was his friend, Hops, who was very well known in the community at the time. he had been giving a bunch of free keys, and I asked for one and I got it, and that was how I got into Skullgirls. But
Wow.
originally, the only reason I even knew what the game was because one of my friends won Evo for the game. So
That's funny.
I'm
So-
a very I
So my friend
I know,
won Evo. You know,
I was like,
Paige is
I
also
know
how
what
I know
Evo
Skullgirls,
is. But it was one of those things where it was like I was super into competitive gaming at the time. Like you don't just be into Melee and League and not be into competitive gaming. So when one of your friends is like, I just won Evo, I was like, holy shit. For what game? Skullgirls. I was like, what the fuck is Skullgirls? You know?
what
And
the hell
I
is a
gotta do it too.
Skullgirls? Yeah.
And
Except,
so, yeah, everything I've ever done inside of Skullgirls has really been just to give back to the same energy that like the game was given to me. And I'm
That's
really
awesome.
happy to say I've given out like over at this point now. I actually checked the other day. I've given out over 500 copies of the game.
That's insane.
Wow, that's
Right?
a milestone in itself. Like, wow, that's crazy. You brought
is.
500 players into the game. That's like,
Well,
so-
not 500 players because I
Well,
can't confirm that
yeah,
every
it's
single one
true.
of them is
If
played. But I
500
can
people,
say
you
that,
gave 500 people the chance to play such a great game.
yeah.
That's
And
so cool.
it feels really good. It when I looked that up, literally I looked it up like last week because I wanted to quote somebody for it, and they asked like for proof. And so what I did was I grabbed up every single Steam copy that I had gifted over the last 12 years, every single code that I had bought off Fanatical, every single code that I had been given by the developers to give out, and every single copy that I had purchased on PlayStation 4 for Xanadu, in addition for people's private streams, and every single time that I gifted someone money to buy the game. And that came out to about 512 copies. So,
Wow. That's
yeah.
That's just such a, like a monument number for your community, and you know, like for a community to even have like a champion like that, to being like I know like a very small version of this was like when Guilty Gear Plus Art got its rollback patch. Everyone was like, I'm gonna buy 10 keys and give them out. Like, try this game. But to give out 512, like it's like you're going door to door, knocking on doors, and being like, "Hey, have you heard of Skullgirls today?" Like a Jehovah's Witness. Like, I'm here to talk about the good Lord of Skullgirls.
That's a sketch that I have, and I'll send you that so you can go ahead and put that in overlay.
Yeah, okay.
I actually, you know that one scene from Happy with the Jehovah Witness doing that? You've seen Happy, right?
I haven't seen Happy.
Okay, it's about this really depressed guy that has like a fucking conniption, and a little unicorn invades his brain and makes him feel like he's crazy, but he's not. And anyway, there's a scene where Jehovah Witness goes door to door until he finds a serial killer, and the serial killer lets him in. Because that's the only person that would let a Jehovah Witness in. Like, what do they expect?
Just running.
Anyway, it's me going door to door asking if they've played Skullgirls and getting the door shut in my face several times until a serial killer or specifically a Marvel player. It's like, no, I haven't. Do you want to come in? You know,
it's like an
Marvel
arcade
players
stick
gonna-
hanging on the wall behind you. I've never put that down. I've
I've
never heard of that. What is
Skullgirls
that?
before. Come inside.
That's too good.
I'll send you that, and you can just put it in this part of the podcast.
Awesome,
People on YouTube
yeah.
will lose their mind.
That's
But yeah,
so
no,
good.
it's a privilege, I feel, to be able to give back even a portion of what was given to me when I came to this community. Because like I said, my first experience with fighting games was not positive. And that's what I thought all of the fighting game community was like. And to be very candid with you, a lot of communities have not always been super receptive of me when I try to join them. So when I met the Skullgirls community, I was like, oh, it's kind of like the game that I was trying to get into, which was Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And everyone here is being super nice and helping me learn the game. And they're coming to my stream and teaching me the inputs when I'm getting frustrated instead of just like shutting me out. That's nice to see. And I was like, this makes me want to tell more people to come in here because I know that people will be taught and trained and not just ignored like I was at my first time at an event. So when I remember that and when I think about that, 500 doesn't seem like nearly enough to bring the amount of people I want into the community to sustain it forever, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously you recently were in the hold back to block piece that they did on Skullgirls, you know, and you guys have talked about like even with the community, it's an indie game for, you know, those who don't know. You know, indie games in the fighting game scene, they don't always have like the biggest turnout for tournaments. They don't ever make it to Evos or stuff like that or combo breakers, but you guys like champion together. Like, hey, these are the 4 to 6 to 8 events or whatever it was this year. Like Skullgirls community, like we're gonna show up. Like this is what we're gonna do. Like to me, that is so cool. Like it reminds me a bit just because my original taken to fighting games was Melee or like, you know, in Smash, and like we would do that a lot for like the regionals. We're like, yo, we're going to, you know, this person for this week, and we're all jumping, like 5 people are jumping in a van and we're gonna go to Jersey, like we're invading, right? That was like the whole thing. And I just always thought that was cool. It's like almost like the Skullgirls community is like, oh, we're invading Combo Breaker, like we're getting on main stage, like everybody's gonna show up and we're gonna show everyone like how cool this game is. Like that is something that I thought is so cool for the whole community to get behind.
It wasn't originally my idea. I tend to get stuck in organizer roles because no one ever wants to do it. That's like the story of my life. Like I became the TO because the TO of Xanadu because the previous TO was leaving and he recommended me. And then they reached out to me and they're like, so it's either you or some random smasher. And I was like, oh no. Well, I guess I'll do it, you know, easily. Like, of course I'll do it, you know? So it's not that like I look down on smashers, but I do believe that like the fighting game community should be represented by someone that is specifically inside of the community.
Right.
And another aspect that I will bring up just because I feel it's pertinent is that the fighting game community is overwhelmingly people of color, specifically Black people. And so I feel like it is very important that anytime there is an opportunity for a Black person or even a woman to be in a position where they're representing the community, I feel like that's very important so that people inside the scene recognize that we are here. Like, people can say whatever they want about me, but what you can't say is that I didn't run Xanadu, because I did. Right. It was a fact. I was in charge of the fighting game community at Xanadu. And to have a Black woman occupy that role is something that we don't typically see inside of the scene. There are a lot of women that are running things inside of the scene, but it's very rare that you see someone in charge of an entire venue or an entire region that is also a woman or is also Black. And very rarely do you see both of those things together, especially inside of our scene. You see a couple of people doing it, like Tanisha Jones is doing the damn thing. You see Sakura running all these tournaments for Guilty Gear Strive, and they're so fantastic at doing it. But it is definitely few and far between. And I feel like it's very important that we occupy more positions where we are seen and we are visible and we are helping the community move forward so that we can make sure that the next generation understands there are more than just men inside of this community, you know?
Especially like the early days, like it really is. And like even now, like I'm glad it's starting to change, but I would love for it to change more, that it's been a boys club, you know. It's been a lot of people who look like me and Pinto, like, you know, white dudes that have just been running the scene. And like any chance we can get for, you know, more diversity and more recognition for people of color and for women, trans people in the community, like we want these people to feel welcome, because obviously they're part of our community. You know, we want everyone to feel welcome and at home, because, you know, not everyone, just like yourself, I had similar issues like when I went to my first events, that I didn't feel very welcome, but you don't want anyone to go through that. And it's frustrating when, you know, when people come into the scene, they're like, oh, it's all these people, like they all look like one way or they'll act like one way. We just want everyone a chance to just to, at least, even if it's not for them, just to come in and try an event, try a game, and feel welcome in the community.
I honestly wish that we had more queer representation inside of the fighting game community. That does kind of frustrate me a little bit. I know we have Ricky, I know we have Pink Diamond, I know we have Sonic Fox, obviously, but I just feel like there is definitely a need for more queer people to be in positions of power inside the fighting game community, because even though I am bisexual, my sexuality is still something that I'm exploring and growing with, and it's not something that I feel comfortable speaking about for change purposes. I feel like there are other people who can speak to the queer experience better than me. And I feel like those people should be given positions of power as well, so that they can have a seat at the table and they can start to talk about ways that we can positively change to allow more queer and even non-binary individuals inside of the community. I know non-binary is kind of like the same as queer, but some people consider it different. So it's just like, I just want more people to feel comfortable, and I can't be that voice for everybody because I am not that voice for everybody.
Right.
So I genuinely know that there is another generation of people coming in that are not like me, or very similar to me, but not exactly like me. And I want them to feel empowered the same way I do when I enter a fighting game space, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I think my favorite role inside of the community has been so far. But I am really comfortable, obviously, doing TO work too.
Yeah, I mean that's just awesome. Like it's just it's so cool to talk to someone who has like who's checked every box there is to check. You know, it's just to say, just to because not everyone gets to experience every side, and having like a well-rounded mix, you just bring something to the table that other people like blindly like they can't see. Like we talked about this kind of with Kizzy's. Like I see things from a content creator and player perspective. TO see things from a TO perspective. Producers and people who do behind the scenes work. Everyone sees something different, and being someone that's so well-rounded in the scene, it's just cool to talk about. You pick your brain about these kinds of things.
It makes it a lot easier to help a lot more people too. That was one of the cool things about it, was like basically I got into all these positions just because, for lack of a better word, like no one else really wanted to. Like a lot of it's not like, I don't want to say wanted in the same way, like, because I didn't want to have to quit Xanadu. I had to quit Xanadu because I'm getting married. And it's like I have to start focusing on my life and my real work stuff and like my family that I'm about to start, So it's like I have to focus on that. I can't afford to also be worrying about a venue and a local scene and taking care of like other people's children when I'm going to start very possibly having my own. Right. So it was something that I had to say no to because I started not having any more time to do anything. And it's like, if I don't sleep, then I'm going to pass. So I don't feel like it's my time yet. But whenever I asked how to do something, people would be like, you do it. And I was like, okay, I will. And me being like 20 something, like a young 20 something year old, it was really easy for me just to go out and be like, okay, how do I do this? I would go ask people that were doing it and be like, can I help? Can I volunteer? Can I do this and this? And they'd be like, yeah. And then at a certain point, I was just the person doing it, or I've just been doing it for the longest time, or I've just been helping. And then it became a, duh, of course we're going to have Sharpie do this thing. Like, something that people don't know is that I applied for EVO. I've applied for EVO commentary every single year since 2018. And this was the very first year I got asked to do EVO. Well, I guess last year was the very first year I got asked to do EVO, but I've applied every single year since Dragon Ball FighterZ was announced, because that was the game I felt like I was comfortable and confident enough to commentate. And unfortunately, I didn't get the role, but I feel like obviously they had very talented commentators. I just unfortunately wasn't that person. But I've been denied multiple times for multiple events. Like I was denied from ECT. I was denied from like CEO. I was denied from Combo Breaker. I was denied by Evo. Like I didn't get to do Dragon Ball commentary for any of those. And so it was a really disheartening experience, because that entire year, I was like the very first person in the United States of America to commentate Dragon Ball FighterZ at a major event when I commentated Winter Brawl in 2018. I was the very first person to ever do it. And like I felt like I did a really good job. And so not necessarily being noticed for that event made me realize, okay, I just have to grind even harder. And that was what helped me become like a really good commentator, a really good host, a better streamer. I started taking night classes, not like because I needed my degree or anything, but I literally went back, not to like university, but I took some classes at community college for audio and visual production, and also some public speaking classes, just so I could get better at performing in front of a camera, and I could understand more logistics of what went into a stream. So I was doing all this stuff because I was like, if I get into EVO, I need to be ready and I need to be professional. And this is how you be professional. You take classes for things you don't know. So you're never too old to stop learning. And I really empower people, especially if you feel like you want to do something, to just do it. Just go ask questions and just do it. Like if you're not sure, Google is a free freaking resource. And TikTok is also free. I just want to add, if you go to tiktok.com/@DaPurpleSharpie, you can follow me and ask me some details yourself. My DMs are open.
Plug game is so strong.
It's great.
It's unparalleled.
Yeah, it's just like, bam, here's your self ad read coming right over the screen and right out. It's in and out. That's awesome.
If you told me the name of the podcast again, I would have put a segue in there for your show, but I don't remember what it was called.
We are the O2ers.
We're the O2ers. We're supposed to be forgettable, so there you go.
Yeah, exactly. The pot monsters, the O2ers.
The jobbers.
The jobbers, the jabronis, yeah, whatever you want to call us, you know.
Piccolo mains.
Oh.
You know who. I'm not even gonna say your name. You better comment right now. You know who you are. Pento knows too. We talk about the said person enough every episode.
I don't think he can comment. He doesn't have enough followers on TikTok.
Ooh, slam.
I love you, Floki. I love you, man. Respect to Floki.
Floki, I feel like we can't do an episode of the O2ers without talking about Floki for 5 seconds. It's just like mandatory Floki break. That's what we're gonna title this chapter. Mandatory Floki break.
Yeah, no snacks though. No snacks.
No snacks. You know, Skullgirls, obviously we've talked about it a lot. You know, it's starting to boom a lot again. It's got new DLC coming out. We have Annie and Umbrella, who Umbrella I think is just getting the rest of her moves added to the alpha, or just got it very recently.
That looked cool.
Yeah, all the bubbles and everything, that looked really cool. You know, I watched in the Hold Back the Block piece that Skullgirls mobile was actually like a really big part of that. Like,
yeah,
I know for a while you were playing Skullgirls mobile and even I believe streaming some of it, right?
Yeah, I actually still play it.
Oh, you do?
Like daily, yeah.
Oh, you're on that grind. Yeah. Do you do you think that more fighting games or even more indie fighting games in the scene should try something like the mobile game approach? Because I feel like it did such a great thing for Skullgirls, and you know, mobile gaming is so like it's the biggest platform for gaming in the entire world.
Yeah. The issue is with indie teams, it's a matter of both bandwidth,
right,
and development time, right? So when you're releasing on even just a singular platform, it's really difficult to also manage a completely different mobile release platform for 2 different places, specifically the Google Play Store and the App Store, which are 2 totally different interfaces. Like, you have to create an APK specifically for Android, and then you have to create another one specifically for iPhone. And you have to understand that most people won't even use the Android one, and the people that do use the Android one may have a different experience than the iOS one, and you have to be able to service both of them very frequently. And that usually requires you to have a secondary development team. Like, for example, Hidden Variable is working exclusively on the mobile team, on the mobile game, right? They're also obviously working now on Second Encore, but previously they were not working on Second Encore at all. That's new. That's something that just started like last year. But before last year, like, they were only working on the mobile game. The mobile game was completely separate from Second Encore. It was a different production team, everything like that, you know? But now Future Club and Hidden Variable are both working on the mobile game and Second Encore together, right? So it's a little bit of a different situation, but most independent teams, like the team that works on Punch Planet or even the team that works on Tough Love Arena, like, these are very, very small teams that can't afford to have a second development squad exclusively for mobile. So while I think that obviously Skullgirls is a fantastic example of the positives that can come from creating a mobile game in tandem with your fighting game, it's not super obtainable for every single independent game, specifically every single independent fighting game developer out there. What I will say is that it does show that if your mobile game is true to what your game is about, the same way Skullgirls Mobile is to Skullgirls, and if it encompasses it and makes it feel like the game is accessible to people who may not understand fighting games, then you will see a large crossover of players between the 2 IPs, right? And that was shown basically because Capcom came out with a mobile game, and I don't have to tell you how that went because you probably aren't playing it right now. So
played on release, but not much after. But yeah,
I'm just saying, most people didn't even install it. It didn't even look like a game that people wanted to install for a lot. Skullgirls Mobile looks like Skullgirls.
Yeah, it does.
Second Encore. It plays like Skullgirls Second Encore. It literally just plays like it on mobile. You're still playing a fighting game, and you may not be doing the super in-depth inputs in the fighting game, but a lot of people would say it's still as enjoyable. I enjoy it a lot. And like, as someone that is getting older, is, you know, now on hitbox because of my old woman reflexes, like, it's enjoyable to just be able to use my thumbs to play a game and feel like one of the best players all time. That's a very enjoyable experience for me, especially when I'm on the toilet, like thinking about Ram's feet, like it's so great because I gotta tell you, it's only at this podcast, the Owen Tours, youtube.com/users/Owen Tours, I assume, where I can actively express my true feelings towards Skullgirls Mobile. And I just have to say, if you're not already pressing that subscribe button, why? Why aren't you subscribed to one of the best podcasts inside the fighting game community right now? With KRC Pinto and tGrass.
That was a glowing endorsement.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to clip that and I'm gonna put that on one of those picture frames that plays a video. I'm gonna have that when people walk in my room. This is the greatest podcast of the FGC.
Hi, I'm DaPurpleSharpie. You should be listening to the Owen Tours, one of the best fighting game podcasts of all time, hosted by KRC Pinto and tGrass.
Love it.
Cutting that
out right there. That's a TikTok right there.
It is.
There we go. we got it's stamped. It's good. We're going there.
Lick Ram's feet. What?
One thing that a lot of people do know you for, recently you've been teased about it a little bit on TikTok, but a lot of people, if you don't know, there is a certain archetype in fighting games that DaPurpleSharpie does not like, and those are grapplers. And I want to sit here and ask you the hard-hitting questions. I need a date, a time, a point of reference.
Yeah.
Where did it begin? How did we get here?
So, the very first time I ever remember actively hating a grappler was when I played Melee, because I used to play against Captain Falcon, and Captain Falcon has the shittiest recovery in the entire game. Captain Falcon's recovery is trash. His recovery is very, very bad. But it grabs you and it pushes you off, and if you do it successfully, you can do it again, and it's just one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. But that's not the thing that made me hate grapplers. The thing that made me hate grapplers is my fiance, also known as FGC Dad, who plays Sarabella in Skullgirls, and also Potemkin in Guilty Gear, and also plays Balrog, otherwise known as Boxer, inside of Super Turbo. And it's just always made sure that I have a terrible time inside of every single fighting game I ever play. And he plays grapplers.
It starts at home, huh? It stays at home. You can't even walk out of the bedroom without just feeling like an immense slave.
The real lore is that Eliza and Skullgirls used to have hyper armor on Sekhmet, which could only be broken by one thing originally, and that was by grabbing her.
Oh, okay.
So it was the kryptonite. A little bit.
They changed it so that you could grab or snap her, and then they changed it so it was no longer hyper armor; it was just super armor. So you could grab her, snap her, or sweep her, and it's just not as good anymore. Yeah. But when you could only grab her, grabbing is a 7-frame action. You're pretty locked into that, And if your placement is slightly off, I can punish you heavy for that. So my favorite thing was baiting people into starting to grab and then punishing them by just calling out the hyper armor and then punishing their grab, and then they just be fucked. Or they would come in to challenge me and then I would pull out the hyper armor, and then when they went in to go grab, I would just slightly back off, so I would be slightly out of their spacing of the grab, and then I'd punish them for it. And it was one of the most satisfying things out of Skullgirls. It was really cheap. It was immediately patched out. It was very, very cheap. It was not fair. I think one of the worst things that ever happened was that Sonic started playing Eliza, and it ruined
How could they?
Well, the issue with me is that myself and Sonic we have some of the same tastes and characters. So when I pick up a game the very first time, the very first time I ever picked up Mortal Kombat 11, I played Frost. And who was Sonic playing on day one? Frost. And who got nerfed before the game even came out? Frost. Who was Sonic playing on day one of Guilty Gear? Ram.
It's just... that is the Sonic Fox effect. It really is a thing.
I am the one who has to deal with it the most. And I don't try to attack them because it's their choice. They're a really good player, and you got to play that cheap shit. it's hard because if I had the same mechanics as Sonic, I could exploit that cheap shit before it got banned, and I don't have I don't have the young person reflexes anymore. You know, I don't have the time. I have a full-time job. I have to sit over here and write a bunch of like sitcoms and stuff for like content to do off work. And so I have nowhere near enough time to like lab out the stuff that I need in order to make it janky, but I can recognize the jank. And the issue is Sonic sees it the exact same way I do and can implement it before me. And then it gets patched before I even have a chance to really attack people that do it. So it sucks. But it's cool. I love them so much. They're family. It's just, damn, Sonic, why you gotta hurt me like this so much, dude? What?
What did I ever do? What did you ever do?
For what purpose? No, but in all seriousness, it's like, yeah, that's where the grappler hate comes from. Oh, also, really funny story. The reason why that was changed in Skullgirls was actually because Sonic played a 1st to 50 with the previous developer for Skullgirls, and they immediately patched it after Combo Breaker.
Whoops.
No, I'm not fucking with you. Yeah,
I believe you.
I believe you. That's
every
insane.
single character I've ever really loved, Sonic gets patched.
One of my favorite Sonic things was I think this was like a year ago in Dragon Ball FighterZ when they were kind of bouncing around the roster, and every few days they'd just tweet like X character is S tier, and everyone would just tweet up and up, stop it, like don't say it, like Beerus is S tier, and all the Beerus players would be like, stop, no he's not, please.
Week 1 when Sonic said that A21, when Sonic came out with that tier list and said that A21 was S tier, that was when I remembered every single time that Sonic got my characters nerfed. That was like one of the scariest moments of my life, and I was like, I actually want to get good at this game though, Sonic. Don't tell them, because it's like it's hard when like me and Sonic be thinking the same sometimes. Like, I'm not saying that I'm as good as Sonic. I'm really not, and I don't even want to come off like that in the slightest, because I'm not good at fighting games.
You're getting the
I'm
side
okay.
effects.
I'm pretty good. I'm okay at them. I'm better at theory crafting than I've been at anything else. And because my fiance is so good at labbing, I've gotten really, really good at understanding what makes really good characters more than a lot of average players are. So when someone presents a tier list, like when No Kami told me A21 wasn't busted, I was like, you bullin', like that's bullshit, you know? Then Kami talks to Sonic, and Kami comes back to me and is like, yo, Sharpie, A21 kind of nasty. I'm like, don't say that shit publicly, Kami! Don't say that shit! Don't say that shit! And then she gets patched, you know, like...
I think...
And Leffen's like, A21's kind of nice, you know, in the way that fucking Leffen talks or whatever. But it was one of those things where it's just like, it's a circle that that's my entire fighting game career since Skullgirls.
The circle shifts, but it's always the same. It's always the same.
In every game that can be patched, the only game it hasn't affected me in is Melee, and that game will never be patched.
Thank God for that.
Who's your Melee main?
Sheik.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. I was a really good Sheik. I was like top 8 in my region.
That's awesome. I
didn't even own a GameCube. And I was just like, I wasn't top H. I'm sorry. I wasn't. Someone's going to watch this and be like, Sharpie, you know what's crazy is I was in Melee for so long that I didn't even have a tag. People just called me Sheila. Like, that's how I know when people know me from, like, back then. I'll still talk to, like, Chillin or Siren or Corey or, like, Red or them. And I'll be chilling with, like, these really high-level Melee players. And people will swear it's just because I'm a girl. I was like, no. I used to compete with these fuckers like 10 years ago. Like everyone just assumes I'm here just because I'm clout chasing. They're like, how does Sharpie know this? And I was like, because I was in the Melee community for like 6 years and I traveled all along the East Coast. Like I met these people and I played with them and I wasn't the best, but I knew them. You know, I was really proud of the fact I could wave dash because back then that was like some of the highest tech that you could learn at the time. And I didn't even own a GameCube and I could wave dash and I felt so good. And now like kids are like, well, you know, I can toadstool and do this and this. And I was like, fuck, bro, like I can't compete with these kids.
For me with Melee, once shield dropping became meta, I was like, it's over for me. I don't have the controller for it, boys. I'm just gonna pack it up.
I was good until like L canceling wasn't the only thing that would help you beat people anymore. Like that used to be the thing that would help you win tournaments. Like if you could L cancel, you could win any tournament anywhere.
That's just so crazy to think about.
It was really, really good. If you played Sheik or Fox, like Marth wasn't even good until I don't know if I can say this name, like Dr. PP. Like he had to change his name.
Yeah, PPMD.
Yeah. He did change his name to PMD, didn't he? Yeah. I knew him before he changed his name and shit. Because that was the whole thing. Was like, I think he got on the main stage of like Apex, and one of the sponsors was like, "We're not running that name anymore." And then he actually got like a real sponsor, and they made him change his name.
Yep.
Yep.
It was like I was there for that. I was there when like people had to change their names for things, or they wouldn't get like a Liquid sponsor or a Fnatic sponsor or like an Echo Fox sponsor. It's really funny to watch.
I think it's so funny watching like all the like the 06, 07, even like up to 2010 Melee VODs, and like people have like their like in-game tag is like slut with a $sign and stuff like that. It's like, no, you can't do that anymore, but like everyone in their heart is just like, hey.
Everyone did that. Everyone did that.
Like poop or the F word is their tag, or like just a bunch of different stuff that you would always put in.
Drive tag at the beginning of this year.
It was nice being around the people I was around. It was just tiring because I would be usually the only black person in the room, and I would almost always be the only black woman. So it was like, it's kind of nice being in the FGC where it's like, it's predominantly black. So I'm mostly just seen as a woman, which wasn't something that I've experienced in any other community I've been in. So it's like, it's nicer being able to like just experience one facet of my intersectionality instead of having to like fight both sides. But I can still, obviously, I'm still a black woman. I still feel everything as a black woman. It's just like, I'm not treated as that black person in the room exclusively inside the fighting game community anymore, which is very nice. I can't tell you how nice that is, because the names that we're talking about weren't always just those words, you know? Sometimes they were other words that I don't want to repeat, you know?
Right.
So it's like, it's nice seeing how far the community has come. It's frustrating that it took this long, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And also, fuck grapplers.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I feel like on my short time that I've been posting very actively on TikTok, I've made it a very big point that anyone who hates grapplers is very welcome on my page. And
what's my Dragon Ball team right now, tGrass?
You're a grappler player, so
the Broly, Super Broly, Android 16.
I thought my agent said.
It's only Dragon Ball.
Listen, he plays on his characters in other games.
I'm required to leave conversations when someone tells me that.
Double Broly A16 right now.
He's originally a 16 player, but like
I know.
After 16 got nerfed.
I love A16.
He played the Bads version of 16, not like the Sonic Fox hard knockdown mixing at Evo.
I actually played that one too, but that was when I was still learning, so I couldn't do anything.
So like
I played the
A16, Adult Gohan Vegeta type shit, like season 2, season 1 stuff.
My season 1, I did Yahosi's team, which was super fun. The Bardock Go Tank 16, that was a blast. And then I did Base Vegeta.
Oh yeah, I forgot how good fucking Bardock's was season 1, dude.
Bardock was character was illegal season 1. Illegal.
I'm a new FGC person, so like I remember one of the first things I ever did, like I was watching Dragon Ball FighterZ, and like I kept seeing people do like the level 3 into the medium lariat that like put you overhead, and you could like do an air action before they nerfed it. And I remember going to like a Reddit, being like, "What do I do? How do I like ask this?" And like finding Dragon Ball FighterZ Reddit and be like, "People keep doing this thing. Why are they doing it?" And someone just answered my question, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't get like just roasted. Like, let's go."
Yeah, it feels great, right? You know what? KRC Penta, you should actually play Skullgirls. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, I'm not heavy trying to like sell this game to you right now. The reason why Sonic Fox is so good at Dragon Ball FighterZ is because they played Skullgirls. I'm not even kidding with you right now. The reason why Sage became such a good player is because he played Skullgirls. That game, and this isn't in just even something I only say, this is something every single like top player that has come out of Skullgirls has said, including Super Noon. That game teaches you more about fundamental team mechanics than any other game currently inside of the fighting game market at all.
I've dabbled in it, and I actually nothing like your story, but DaKill Sage was my favorite Dragon Ball player in season 2 because he was the only person playing Z Broly, and I loved that.
Mhm.
And so I found Skullgirls through following him, and I did
Mhm.
download it, and I played it for a little while, and I've like gone back and forth a few times. I have a really hard time playing that game.
No,
Not
no,
because
no.
it's
I'm
bad.
not asking
It breaks
you
my
to.
fingers.
It's
Oh,
really.
I don't
get
play
it.
any other 6 buttons. 6 buttons throw me off so
Oh,
hard.
that's fair. That's fair.
So it's a lot to
It is
juggle.
hard. Yeah.
But I do like it, and my YouTube channel is pretty much exclusively interviews with character specialists in fighting games, and I've done a few Skullgirls episodes, and they're always so fun because that game just has so much crazy stuff in it, and I don't ever like know the character as well going into it than I do with like a Dragon Ball interview or a Guilty Gear interview, so my mind is always blown. Like I had Triv on for Squiggly, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever like. He's
Yeah,
just
Triv is great.
breaking my brain while we were doing all that stuff. I had PME on for Misfortune.
PME's godlike.
So
PME
good.
is honestly one of the best misfortunes in the world, I still feel. But the reason I was going to recommend it is not even so you can play against people. I was just actually going to recommend you go inside the lab and practice.
Mm.
Like, don't even play against people because, like, I think the biggest misconception that people do when they play Skullgirls is they immediately like go into the lobby or go into quick match and
Made
just
that
go play
mistake
someone.
once. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tilting.
Watching a movie for 60 seconds, something
What
like that.
feels like 60 seconds, what feels like 90 minutes, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But if you go into training mode and you just go experiment with a different character setups that you can do, because they do have a macro setting, so you can easy set it to like 2 different macros. What I would recommend doing is based off the team that you play, it feels like you would probably identify best with Cerebella and Beowulf, unfortunately. And what I would do then is put Beowulf on that team. I would put Cerebella, Beowulf, and Big Band on that team. And I would just start checking out different assists and see the properties of what happens when you just go up against a bot. Like just put the opponent to be a bot and then just play them inside of the move, inside of the game, and just mash buttons and see how many different types of properties and different types of assists you can come up with. And you can even play at like 75% speed or 50% speed, which I did for like the good first month that I was playing Skullgirls. Like there's no shame in that. But if you do that, it'll open your mind creatively to what could be better inside of Dragon Ball Fighters. And this isn't to say Dragon Ball Fighters is a bad game, even though I feel like it is because the netcode is shit and they don't respect you at all. Enough to fix it. But what I will say is it'll open your mind to what you can accomplish inside of other games if other games allowed you the freedom to do something else, which is what happened season 1 of Dragon Ball Fighters. If you remember, Sage was a force season fucking 1. There were a lot of Marvel players that were really good at it, but Sage was on a different fucking level, and so was Sonic, if you remember correctly. Yeah. And I was telling people to stop sleeping on these Skullgirls players, and that's why, to be honest with you, that's why I was so surprised that I didn't get picked to do any commentary for Dragon Ball Fighters outside of the events that I did, because I was like, I can commentate Skullgirls, y'all! Like, that's a fast-paced game. Everyone else here is just talking about lore and saying, Cell Scream, like, during the top 8, and it's like, I actually know what's going on in these games. I know every single assist. I know exactly why they did that assist. I know what purpose there was for that assist. I know that because I came from Skullgirls, and nobody else here does, but that's not marketable enough for a commentary. So.
Skullgirls will forever have one of my favorite mechanics in any fighting game with the custom assists. I will. That is the coolest thing, especially because like grabs can be assists, and like that is so crazy. Like the amount of options, like it's literally infinite options, right? Like a team has infinite combinations with at that point, right?
Yeah.
If they all have custom assists, like you could literally run any team with any assist you could think of.
Yeah,
it's just so crazy to me.
That's really what makes the game, like, I feel so consistently good, and why so many people keep coming back to the game after points in time, because a new game will come out, they'll see the game, and they'll be like, oh, this is nice, and then Skullgirls will come out with a new character that will change the entire way that everything in Skullgirls reacts, because any character inside of Skullgirls will ultimately change every aspect of the game whatsoever. Like, when Annie came out, the entire meta was changed. And it's not like there's a hard meta or anything in Skullgirls. Every character is viable, and every character can be used at high level play. It's just about how you personally want to play. If you feel better playing like a floaty team, then maybe you play a Painwheel Parasol team. If you feel better playing a grappler team, God forbid, maybe you play Cerebella Beowulf. You know, it's one of those things that allows every single person to play the game they want to play it, and even characters that seem like they could be archetypes from other games are not repeated ever inside of the game. And that's something really unique to Skullgirls.
Yeah, that game will forever have a million permutations, a million different ways to play. The longevity, like there's probably things in the game that we don't even know exist because
no, that's not true. We've had lab monsters like literally
test
touch the
everything.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty much like until they come out with a new character,
Which
Umbrella's supposed to be. Umbrella's like still in alpha, but I think I don't know what the plan is. Like I don't know
going forward, but there will be a new character coming in either way.
Yeah, they've already announced that like there are going to be 2 more characters in their season pass, and I'm excited to see who those characters are. But it's one of those things where it's like with every new character, everything inside of the game changes, and it's just one of those things where it's like there's an established meta for how you dissect the combos and the mentality that you use for using the combos, but ultimately every single character has a different way of dealing with that as well. So I could get into Skullgirls like for another hour, but
you really could break it down to like almost ones and zeros. Like you really could.
But I'm not going to.
It's truly the game with they take all the shackles off. Like everything is unhinged. Everything is like your brain, wherever it takes you for the most part, is what you can do, right?
Yeah, but it's one of those things that we can really only discuss on one of the best fighting game podcasts inside of the world right now, the TOing Tours, hosted by KRC Pento and tGrass with special guest DaPurpleSharpie. But where else would you be if you weren't here? And I mean, honestly, you obviously already hit the subscribe button and that little bell notification right next to it. You left a like on the video and probably a comment just saying who your favorite character inside of Skullgirls is, right? You already left that? I'm sure. I'm just repeating it like a crazy person right now because you already did it and we appreciate you for it. Thanks for supporting us.
Sharpie, speculative question. I've been watching a lot of Blockbuster series because it's really fun to watch, obviously. So Annie, new character, super prominent. What do you think the odds are that Umbrella has like any sort of similar impact to the meta? Like, do you think that like they can do this again where they have a character that comes in and like 50% of players pick them up at a high level?
I don't know if Umbrella is that character. What I do know is that Umbrella's moveset right now, they just announced a new super that she has that looks like it could be one of the best supers inside of the game and possibly replace Big Band as a contestant.
Was it that Rain one?
Mm-hmm. So the reason why that looks so good is because if it has frame 1 and vuln, it would allow what's known as a safe DHC, which similar to Dragon Ball FighterZ, if you can switch out your characters basically safely. Like imagine if Z change. No, because they have safe PBGCs inside of the game now, right?
Yeah, there are safe DHCs.
Yeah. So you can now you could basically Z change and do a move immediately that just comes in and is you're in vuln through it. And so you could use it as a reversal, basically, to just spend a meter and immediately make someone cover. So it's like, that's what would make it so good. It's the same reason why Yamcha was really good, like season 1, because he had that ball that he could just do and it would immediately confirm on frame 1. You do that and then you like mash it a couple times to use up a little bit more super and then you change into like Bardock level 3 and you just kill. You know what I mean? Like, so if she has that, her get out of jail card free, which, by the way, looks like it can be done on both the ground and the air, is stupid good.
That's crazy.
It's stupid good. Like, that move alone could justify her being a replacement for Big Band and a couple of other characters that are currently, like, meta, like, specifically Double. But the big but is that we don't know what the actual properties are because it's not inside the game yet. Specifically inside of the beta version that's currently available right now. If you own the season 1 pass of Skullgirls, go to playskullgirls.sharpieplease.com to pick it up. But if you are already playing it, it's not in there yet. You just have to wait until it is. And it's one of those things that like could actually change it. In terms of her replacing Annie is just too good right now for what she does.
Yeah,
that's her issue. Like she's good with any amount of meter. So it's like, yeah.
Do you think that they're like That's interesting that you compared her to Big Band as like specifically a replacement there. Do you think that that's intentional? Like, because Big Band's such a prominent character and has been for so long. Do you think they're intentionally trying to give people like an alternate option that like does like one of the strong things Big Band does, but gives you another way to play without giving up that like really powerful tool?
So right now there are only like two charge characters in the game. That's Big Band and that's Parasol. And Umbrella would be the third charge character inside of the game. So I guess it would be Parasol, Big Band, and Sarabella. I just don't frequently play Sarabella. But those three characters have charge inputs, and those are the only three characters to have charge inputs. Um, Umbrella would be the next character to have charge inputs, and the reason why I say she's very similar to Big Band is because a lot of people have been calling her Little Big Band or Little Band,
Little band.
um, specifically because she has a move that allows you that is projectile invuln and allows you to basically command grab anyone from the ground. It's the move that has Hungeren's turn like come down and like just attack them. It really just depends ultimately. Oh yeah, she also has a command grab normal. Her 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 standing HK is a command grab number. She jumps up and she like if you're not blocking, it hits. I think it hits like mid, but if you're not blocking, then it just hits and it grabs you, and she can trigger OTG off of that. So it's like she is very very versatile. It's not armored at all. Like I said, it's just a normal, but she has the potential of changing a lot. In addition, one of her supers specifically is also able to reflect projectiles totally, completely and totally. And also has like I think it like invulner armor frames. So it's like that's typically the spot that you would see Big Band occupy. You would typically see Big Band occupy that spot because he has the full screen super that's fully armored that typically can never be broken unless it's like super multi-hitting, you know? That's usually when you see Big Band come through. And she is a really good alternative to it. So that's why I think she could replace it, because if she has enough safe DHC options, there's no reason for someone to really have Big Band on their team when they can have someone who's a smaller Big Band, still has the same options, has more meter, has more unscaled damage, and is better against the Peacock, specifically Robo Fortune matchup. So, like, that would be better for Umbrella than it would be for Big Band, who just gets like who has issues approaching against Peacock and Robo Fortune both, because Robo Fortune just flies up and Peacock just teleports away because she's fucking Peacock and disgusting. So that's my thoughts.
I'm
But
glad
I
we
could
don't
go.
like
I could
zoners
literally
either.
go on for like another 20 minutes about that. Like I'm not joking. You're gonna have to stop me if you ever want to stop the show.
I mean,
He said no. Do you have any other special things you want to leak to us, Sharpie?
you know, I'm really just enjoying the conversation. Like I looked over at the time and I was like, wow, that's a good amount of time we've been talking.
It's a good amount of time, yeah.
That's why I love this show. It's just coming on and just like talking about things and just like, oh wow, that was an hour, 2 hours, like anywhere in between. You're like, wow, that was awesome. It just felt like 10, 15 minutes and you just get to talk about all these things. And
well, I'll be
share them
honest with
people.
you. Anytime I'm literally on one of the best podcasts around, specifically the Owen Tours featuring KRC Pinto and tGrass, it's always a pleasure because I know that I'm talking with professionals who genuinely care about the community, not just the Dragon Ball fighting game community, not just the Skullgirls community, but the fighting game community at large. And I'll tell you what, if I wasn't literally being a guest featured on the show right now, I would probably hit that subscribe button, mash that like, and tell people exactly who I'd want to hear next on the podcast in the comment section.
Tell us in the comments below. You guys know comments are free. Leave us a comment and tell us your favorite part of the episode. But I believe we've hit 90 minutes right now, so I think we're gonna wrap up here. It's getting a little late, but it has been such a great episode. Sharpie, thank you so much for coming on. It was really a treat to have you talk about so many different topics. I'm gonna put it all on screen right here above us all. Please tell us where we can find you, all of your social medias, especially of course your TikTok.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I am most available on TikTok. So if you want to support me, if you want to follow me and find out what my latest project is, you can go over to tiktok.com/@DaPurpleSharpie. I'm also, unfortunately, on Twitter at DaPurpleSharpie, DaPurpleSharpie yet again. And I have a Discord. If you go into Chrome and you type discord.sharpiepls.com, you should be able to join. Otherwise, you're out of luck. And I do just want to let you know I am firing my agent because this has been the absolute worst podcast I've ever been on in my life.
We want to thank you so much, and your agent. I hope the slice of pizza was great. It was a meat lover's pie. You said that was your favorite. Not
I'm
my
vegan.
favorite. Well, your agent's.
He asked us to hand pick the pepperonis off, but he still wanted meat lovers. It was kind of weird. But...
It was a little weird. Listen, and he only used carrier pigeon, not email. Don't know where you got this guy. Very old school. As old school as you can get.
I pay him $10,000 a month.
That pigeon is well fed, let me tell you.
I'm looking at the email right now. There might have been a mix-up because it says we booked the DaPurpleSharpie.
Yo, I have a lawsuit against her. What the fuck?
Well, we may have to scrap this one. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. Pinto, any last words for the people?
Play Skullgirls? Play Skullgirls.
Play
Do that.
Skullgirls.
It's good for you. I'll play Skullgirls.
Let's play some Skullgirls. Thank you guys so much. We are out of here. Have a great day wherever you are, and take care. Peace.